that the ability to make the right split-second decision in the middle of a service can save a moment. And as a cook, that's an incredible quality to have. But I'd like to try and convince you today that taking a moment to pause is what it takes to make better decisions as a chef. In this video, I want to talk about the power of pausing and how taking a breath, stepping back, and taking an internal checklist before acting can completely change the way that you lead and respond to situations in your kitchen as they arise. See, I've learned that as chefs, we're conditioned to move fast, respond quickly, adjust immediately. The orders are coming in, fires need putting out, both literally and figuratively, and decisions are generally made in an instant. I learned that from my first days as a cook, and it made me a great cook, and it even carried over into making me a good sous chef. But what if I told you that slowing down, even for a moment, can make you a much more effective leader? I think I learned this the hard way. We often believe that speed equals efficiency. But in leadership, speed without clarity leads to mistakes. It leads to us taking our team in the wrong direction, and usually in a very fast fashion. In my experience coaching chefs and working at the highest levels of the industry, I've seen that the best decisions aren't always the fastest ones. They're the ones made with intention, especially in the complex situations that we encounter with our teams, our leaders, every single day. It's very easy to slip into a place when we're constantly reacting. When that happens, we're generally not thinking. We're just responding to stimulus around us. And that's exactly where things can start to go awry. Reaction is useful when it serves us well. Reaction is counterproductive when that reaction leads us down the wrong path. Taking a moment to pause before making a decision, especially a critical one, it's going to allow you to process the situation much more fully, assess the best course of action to take, communicate your response most effectively, ultimately avoid mistakes, both small unnecessary ones that are minor setbacks and critical catastrophic ones that require a significant amount of cleanup. And above all, it's going to allow you to make different choices than, if you're like me, we were taught as young cooks, and avoid some of the responses that weren't necessary. This is the kind of leadership shift that changes kitchens from chaotic to control. When you build the habit of pausing, you move from being a reactive cook to becoming a strategic leader. Someone who sees the bigger picture, not just the problem that's immediately in front. So how do I actually implement this in my daily leadership? There's a simple framework, and as I alluded to earlier, an internal checklist that I like to use. The first step is to pause. The second step is to ask questions. The third is to step back and observe, if only for a moment. The fourth is to communicate and resolve. Let's pick those apart briefly. Pausing before reacting is literally just taking a moment to take a breath. So the next time that something goes wrong, consciously take a breath before saying anything or doing anything. And in that space of the breath, ask yourself what's really happening and try and actually see the situation before assigning blame or jumping to the problem solver mode that we generally do. Actually see what's going on. You know, what's really happening here is just a better question. And that's the second piece, is just asking better questions. Not what did you do wrong, but what's actually happening? What's going on? You know, instead of reacting immediately, it's really helpful to ask what's the root cause? Because often we encounter new situations, especially as we rise up the chain of leadership. We're dealing with new staff, we're dealing with new people, we're dealing with complex problems that aren't always necessarily as simple as substitute the green onion for the spring onion. It's fine to use the sweet onions in place of the yellow onions, right? Those are critical decisions that we often make on the fly all the time. And after 20 years of cooking, those become really, really easy. That type of response, though, doesn't solve the complex nature problems that we as humans bring to the table. It's critical to our success at higher levels to not respond with lower level thinking. Thinking like a cook won't bring the perspective and success to bigger problems. A good question to ask in that moment that you take a breath is this a single mistake or is there a process breakdown? Actually seeing it as a whole, because if you're in the executive chef role, you most likely have a sous chef who should be dealing with it on a more operational level. Bigger position, bigger problems. So looking at it and understanding if it's a single mistake, that's something that your sous chef can definitely deal with. If it's a process breakdown, that's something that's far more in your wheelhouse and probably needs a little bit more time to consider the solution. So when you ask that question and you find yourself pondering an answer, step back from the situation for a moment and observe. Just a moment can allow you to see things more clearly. Instead of jumping right in to fix something, watch the team operate. Watch the team try and resolve a situation. You may see them do some wonderful things without you pulling a string. Or you may see where things go even further wrong, and that's where that system is failing, and that may give you more information to resolve the bigger process-driven issue. Pausing is going to allow you to see patterns, not just isolated incidents. Next time something else happens and you take a pause, you may see that there's a similar response. Again, a pattern is emerging. When patterns emerge, there's deeper level thought process required to solve it. After you've gathered your information, then finally you're going to communicate with intention. Consider your response. Think through how you're going to discuss this. Make it a point to leave your receiver better than when you found them, with a little bit more information, with the right course of action, with, some clear next steps. And when you slow down before responding, your words have this ability to carry more weight. When you consider your words, you can deliver a solution that's going to carry more impact. Clarity in leadership comes from intentional communication, not necessarily rushed reactions to everything. Rushed responses on long stretches tend to lead to burnout and exhaustion, and they can quite honestly lead us down a path where we're constantly making these from the hip decisions that can really paint us into a corner and cause us more issues than they resolve. So to me, pausing means making sure that when you move, you're moving in the right direction. And as a leader, when you have people following you, that's far more critical than when you're a cook, making a decision, moving in a direction quickly, and you need to change course of action. See, as a leader, I've found that pause is going to allow me to move in the right direction, to make sure that I'm solving the right problem, or that there's even a problem that needs to be solved. It also keeps me from being in a situation where I step over a sous chef who should be learning how to solve some of the problems that I've already become equipped to solve. It's part of their development as well. As chefs, we're responsible for leading with clarity, setting the standard and creating a culture where people aren't afraid to think before they act. When you embrace that moment of pause, you shift from being stuck in reaction mode to being the kind of leader who sees things, anticipates problems, strategizes solutions, and executes through the team with precision. And if you're looking at leveling up your leadership and becoming the kind of leader that can develop the skills and the internal checklist and making a pause in the moments that matter most, which allow you to lead with intention, then let's talk. Schedule a call with me using the link below, and let's start building a leadership approach that makes you not just faster, but more effective. And if this message resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with another chef who needs to hear it. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.